Today I want to show you something. This is a First Strike loading tool. It's 3D printed from Shapeways. It's made of a nylon plastic. The idea with this is that when I carry First Strikes on the field, normally I just play like scenario games, really long games that are 6 hours, something like that, where you're not always going to be able to just go back every 20 minutes or so and reload. Sometimes you may have to be reloading outside of the spawn or something like that, and I find that the normal way that I carry First Strikes would be in a pod, something like this, or a cut down pod to about 100 rounds, or just a bunch of extra load magazines. That's not really ideal because these are heavy. They're about 300 grams. That's about 3 times the weight that one of these is fully loaded. This has 10 rounds capability to hold on either side, and not only is this a lightweight tool for holding these rounds, they're also very small compared to a magazine. A little bit bigger in total volume compared to something like a pod, but these are loose, whereas these are much more secure. They keep the rounds a lot tighter, so you see a lot less fin chips, a lot of less breakage. But the most important thing is that these also can speed up loading. They're a lot like a stripper clip when you're loading. So let me just go ahead and demonstrate how you load one of these. So the idea would be that you load these before you actually go out to the field. So you'd start loading them like this. You see they just slide down. There's a little detent built in to either side, the bottom and the top, so it doesn't matter which way that you load them. And this one has 10 rounds. There's other sizes and configurations available. Some that have 5 rounds per side for a total of 10. Some that are 7 per side for a total of 14. This is a double stack, but there are ones that have 4 or just singles. It just really depends on what your storage, how you plan to store them. In a pocket or a pouch or something, whatever the size is, would be dependent, would really just kind of drive what kind you can really get. But I like the two stacks of 10, so you can see that that's loaded. When I shake it, it doesn't come out. The detents hold them in there. I can do all kinds of stuff. You can't really throw them to people because they'll bounce and they'll knock out, but inside of a bag, they're pretty solid. Because they're stacked so tightly and they have this nylon, the structure of the First Strike itself will help keep them from breaking. They won't really want to come out. You can of course contrast that to that's loud, they're going to break, you don't know how many are in there. That's kind of unideal. I mean, it's good for a backpack or something, but it's when you want to just run a little lighter. These only weigh a third of what one of these does. So my ideal kind of lowdown now is less loaded magazines, a bunch of these in a backpack or something, in a reverse pouch here, something like that. That way I can just take a magazine, put the tool in it, crack the spring down, and then just start stacking these in here. So let me show you how this sort of works. So you have an unloaded magazine, you take this and you put it on there, and you just start loading them in. You can do one at a time, or if you position it correctly, you can just start cracking them in all in a row like a stripper clip on a regular rifle. That's really pretty easy to do. That took me 10 seconds, maybe. When you want to load with one of these, it's a lot more finicky. We've all done this before, but I'll just go ahead and just demonstrate. So I find that I like to do it like this, which is you have the open hopper, you just start sticking them in. You got to figure out how you can't get too many in your hand. You got to sort them and rearrange them correctly. It can be really tedious to do, and you're always in danger of dropping one of these on the ground like that, or just spilling all of them out from the pod. And luckily I have a pod that's pretty full, but if you have a pod that's significantly less full, you're going to really be in danger of spilling them out. You kind of have to just count, or just kind of wait until you actually get them all the way loaded. That's taking significantly more time. Not to mention you might find a few of these are chipped because they've been shaken around in a backpack or something. It's less than ideal, so I think that's 20. And I dropped 3, and I don't think I've chipped any because they're new, but you can see how that might be a danger. So like I said, there's also smaller options available. So I have this is 2 stacks of 5. There's also one that has an extra 2 on here for a total of 20, or 4 stacks of 5. This is a stack of 10 with 2 stacks, so that's total 20, but there's also one that has 4 stacks of 10, so 40 rounds, and I'm working on one with 7. I think they're a really pretty decent idea to try to, especially when you're trying to save weight, and have, try to be ready to go. So you can only carry 4 loaded mags. A couple of these in a couple different pockets are easy to reach, and then you have, a hopper or something like that for when you actually get out. But that helps you really just go a lot faster, especially for people who play with a bolt action first strike cable marker. I think this would really be something that you might find appealing. They're a little bit expensive right now in Shapeways just because of the nature of how the 3D printing process works, but I'm trying to find ways to either maybe split them in half to try to reduce the cost a little bit, or maybe find a different way to print them, possibly just have the top parts with the detents printed at Shapeways and the rest of it available in a less expensive plastic, some sort of file that you could download and print yourself, or if you know someone with a 3D printer. So let me know if you have any feedback on that, or if you have any questions, and hopefully you'll find these very useful as well as convenient to use.